Hello and welcome back to Art Laughs with me, Verity Babs. Today I spoke to Jen Ives. I'm here with Jen. Jen, please introduce yourself.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name's Jen Ives. I'm a stand-up comedian from London, um, and I am 30 years old, and I like long walks on the beach and art as well. And yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely to be here.
You've chosen Gillian Waring's Dancing in Peckham.
I can't remember exactly where I came across this specific video, but like Gillian Waring in general, like I've always really liked. Like I've been following her for a while. I think because she's like a South London artist, and I'm from South London, so that's maybe where I heard about her and stuff. And I just remember once, just on a whim, sort of going to see her exhibition at the Whitechapel Gallery, I think it was, and just being like blown away by it because like I really like modern art, and I don't trust people that don't like modern art, and I just yeah, I just thought it was brilliant. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It's just like dancing in Peckham, and I was like, wow, this is mad.
People who maybe don't like or aren't comfortable with modern art might watch this and be like, I don't get it. But actually the
Yeah.
joy comes from being like, yeah, I don't really either, but I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, she's mysterious, right? I like a mysterious artist. Like, there's not a lot of interviews with her. Like, everything she does is kind of in almost like disguise. I mean, people we know what she looks like, but she's just one of those sort of enigmatic, mysterious artists. And it's not like my favorite of her stuff, but it's like it just has everything to me. Like, it's just one of those pieces that just like is a good introduction to her, I think, because she like famously, her most famous one is the one where she had everybody holding up signs in the street that just say what they're thinking. And looking at it now, like in 2021, like it looks really like, oh yeah, like everybody does that. But at the time, like nobody had done that. And it you can see how much it's like influenced like everything, like YouTube, like advertising, like loves doing stuff like that now. So yeah, I just think she's brilliant and underrated.
Doing these videos, when like a lot of the comedians come on, they're very kind of open with the fact that they don't really know much about art, and maybe that reflects like in their choice. So maybe they pick something super famous, or maybe they pick something that maybe they just have in their house. And
Yeah.
Gillian Waring is, yeah, like you say, really underrated, but I think is also not like a difficult thing to add into your repertoire of art that you know and you like. I think she's got
Yeah.
like a quite accessible thing that videos do have. Whereas I guess like with paintings, sometimes we can feel like we have to decode them and be like, okay, what does this mean? Whereas at least with this, it kind of feels a bit more like an experience, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I like it. A lot of her stuff is an experience. And she's like a filmmaker as well. Like she makes like really interesting film stuff. Like although she is underrated, I think, but anyone I like I say is underrated. But she is like also known as well. Like she did the feminism statue in London, you know, the suffragette statue. Like that was her.
Oh, was that her?
Yeah, that was her. And that's like that must be like one of her most like commercial things that she did. But she's got this other one that's like it's like a mother and her two sons. I don't know if you've seen this one. And it's like she's basically, it's hard to explain, but she's like recorded separately what they think of each other. So she's recorded the audio of her sons like talking about her, and they're kind of like really rude. They're just like slagging her off because they're a bit posh, and they just like they hate their mum. And then she's talking about her kids and how much she loves them, and but the problems that she has with them. And then she's got each party to lip sync each other's bit. So it's like you see the mother like lip syncing with her kid's voice, saying like horrendous things about herself. It's just really interesting. It's just like a really
Oh.
interesting sort of like again, like I'm not an art expert. I've never been to art school or nothing. I just like know what I like, and there's just something in that. I just thought, yeah, that speaks to me somehow. I don't know how, but it does.
Yeah, there's like a brazenness about it. And like with this video, yeah, especially remembering that it's 1994, like you said, that if someone did this now, you'd be like, okay, cool, they're
Yeah,
probably doing like a music video or a TikTok or
yeah,
something.
exactly. A TikTok. There's like way more out there TikToks than this, but
Exactly. But at the
yeah,
time, and you mentioned being from South London, and this is really
yeah,
interesting as well, I think, in like the context of this specifically being in Peckham and it being like referencing that in the title as well, is like she's dancing without music, and but we all know that South London has this like such a vibrant like cultural tapestry of music and of
Yeah.
or like celebration and things. And does that speak to you as like a South London local?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's nice to see it because in the video, like people are like walking past and they're kind of like looking and stuff, but it still feels like yeah, like I'm from Catford and like if you walk through Catford, like you can just expect to see someone dancing to themselves with no music. Like it's not something that's out of place in Catford. And I guess it's the same with Peckham as well. It feels right. It feels wrong and it feels right. And
Mm.
I think it's nice because like South London does have a really vibrant art scene, but it's not really like something that you associate that often with like modern art, you know. Because like Gillian Waring, she is regarded as like one of the proper modern artists, you know, like people she's respected in the field and stuff. And it's just nice that she's representing that area a little bit. I just like that.
Her dancing in a shopping centre in Kensington would have such a different vibe to it. And it'd be very interesting to see the interactions she had.
What I like about her as well, she seems to be like obsessed with like oddballs and stuff, like people who, you know, like fringe people. Like there's this one piece that she has where she apparently saw a woman in the street who had like bandages all wrapped around her face, and either because of plastic surgery or like possibly like an injury or like a burn victim or something. And the whole video is just about her like wondering what happened to this woman, and then deciding to do it herself. And then she goes out in the street with bandages all around her face and kind of like becomes her and kind of tries to get into her head and stuff. It's just mad stuff. It's just mad. It's like I know there's probably a better, like more deep explanation of it than that. And I bet she hates people saying, "Oh, it's just really mad." But like I like that. That's you know, that draws you in.
There's a kind of people obsession about it of like collecting
Yeah.
different people. And I know that like character comedians have that thing of sort of seeing someone and then picking that up and then that adding that person to their collection and people watches and stuff. And do you think that
Yeah,
kind
for
of
sure.
your taste in art, do you think that plays into your own performances?
Yeah, like because another one of her like most famous things is like this confessional thing that she did where she like put a ad in the newspaper basically saying like come to this warehouse or whatever and like tell me your secrets, and you can lie or you can be completely honest, but you can wear a mask and no one will ever, and your voice will be distorted and no one will ever know that it's you. And some of them are like really funny, but some of them are like really disturbing. Like there's one where a woman basically, and again, this is what's fun about it. It's not fun, but you don't know whether she's lying or not.
Mm.
But she basically says that she like killed her husband, and no one ever found out about it or whatever. So I like the idea of that, like not of killing people, but I like the idea of like confessional stuff, you know, saying stuff that you otherwise would never say. And that kind of matches up with comedy, I think. Like, you know, when you go on stage and you just say something because you know that hopefully no one in your family or friends will hear it. It's
Mm.
just like something that you just say to kind of vent and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, there's a kind
definitely
of like reverse logic about honesty where,
yeah.
you know, that woman hasn't, you know, if it is true, say, has never told someone else that she has murdered her husband. But there is
Mm.
something about the oddness of public or anything public, or, you know, there are lots of comedians who say stuff on stage or share experiences on stage that actually they probably haven't spoken deeply to about with their partner or with their parents. And there's something about it being in public that almost makes it not real. I know there's
Yeah,
definitely things that I
I've
shared
done
on
it.
stage. Yeah, exactly. The stuff that I've
Yeah.
said on stage that I'm like, oh, afterwards I'm like, should 50 strangers know that?
I know. Yeah, I've done it too. I've done it too. I try not to lose too much sleep about it though, because,
Mm.
well, more so now that everything's online, like all the gigs are online. So it's like someone's recording it somewhere, right? It's like, yeah, it's more dangerous now, I think.
There's that thing that people are always told as kind of young teenagers when they're obsessing about how they look or how other people think about them, and you have to remember that, you know, people are thinking about you far less than you think about
Yeah.
you. And there is that joyousness to Waring's work that is just like, this is me doing this thing, this outrageous thing. And you know that she's not losing sleep about the fact that people probably walk past her in the Elsham Centre and went, what is that woman
Yeah.
doing, you know?
And it's funny because like a lot of the stuff that she's done has, it seems to be like even if you look at like the signs that say what you want them to say, whatever it's called, she's like always trying to encourage people to say things that are on their mind, like, and that one is like such a visual example of it. It's like, look, this is what I'm thinking, and I would never have otherwise have put this out there. And it just reminds me of like Twitter, right? Because like with Twitter, you just literally you just say what you're thinking.
Mm.
It's not the kind of thing you would ever speak out loud, probably, and it's like you're being encouraged by it to share your thoughts on things that you otherwise would never bring up in conversation. So it's like almost like Twitter is like reframing you, like it's making you a different person because it's forcing you to have an input on stuff you otherwise wouldn't think about. I'm not going to go so far as to say like she invented Twitter, but I think she invented it.
And it's that thing of like, as well, like Twitter, you see it now where people are kind of being, people's really old tweets are being kind of dragged up from years ago, and people
Yeah.
having to face the fact that they were probably a dick 10 years ago and they tweeted something that is now like, that they shouldn't have tweeted. And the interesting thing about social media and how easy it is to access is that it kind of always feels without consequence. Because like you say, you can just be like, oh, I've had this idea, I'm going to put it in a tweet and just send it out and forget about it. And it's interesting now that this, consequence-free realm is kind of coming back to bite people.
I was banned from Twitter today. It's just like
Really?
not permanently, like a 12-hour ban thing. It's my first one, and I wish I was as badass as it sounds, but it was just because of a misunderstanding. Like I tweeted something that is supposed to be sarcastic, like in the voice of somebody.
Yeah.
But it like they read it at face value as if I was like saying these things that would only be that would be offensive to me because it was so yeah, I got banned for 12 hours. But it's been nice. I've been, well, I'm not going to lie and say I've been doing other things because I haven't, but it's been nice not to have to think about it for a little while. Maybe I'll try to get banned more often.
It's quite cool to be banned from Twitter. I think it's quite edgy.
Yeah, I'm so edgy. I'm like proper edgy. Like, I'm going to start my own comedy night, my free speech comedy night.
LBC.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about not necessarily having like an arts education, but knowing what you like, and you mentioned, going to galleries and things. Is that something that's always been part of your life?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just like, I think art is just like reading, isn't it? It's like you like it if you find something that you identify with, if you're lucky enough to find that thing or be exposed to that thing. And like when I was at school, I didn't really enjoy school, but like I really liked art. Like I really liked the limited art class that we had. And, through that, there's just like books laying around and that's when I started to learn about modern art and stuff. And it was all quite basic at that time. It was like Damien Hirst and stuff like that. And then I think like it's the internet, isn't it? You find something that you like and then you're able to kind of go like, oh, what else is like this? And I just love the idea of modern art, like I know a lot of people don't get it or whatever. But I think that's the point. That's what I like about it, It's like starts conversations and stuff, and it's not literal. Like I hate literalism. Like I just hate it. Like so many people now have like such an essentialist, like literal way of thinking. I just find it boring, Like I don't want to know. Like when I see people like on YouTube, right? I get recommended so many videos now that are like video essays about like when a film comes out, and then literally like a week later it'll be like the ending of this film explained in like an hour-long video. Like, I don't want to hear it. I want to like keep it mysterious, whatever.
Yeah, I watched the new Disney film Soul, which I really enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
and then
I watched it.
And then my partner put on the video that was like reasons why this doesn't make sense. Like if you're going to find fault in it, then don't watch it. I think there are some things that are meant to be what they are, and you don't need to tear it apart. And I find, like you say, those things that are like 10 things in Inception that you missed. It's like, well, I just want to watch the film.
I know. It's like I get it. Like I know people like to find hidden things. And like, for example, like, have you seen Mulholland Drive by
No.
David Lynch? Oh, well, it's like a notoriously bizarre movie. The sort of like is really out there, and it's like I wouldn't blame anybody for thinking like, what the hell is going on? But I've seen it like 10 times throughout my life, and every time I see it, I feel like I understand it a little bit more, but then I also feel like there's a bit more of it that I don't understand. And that's just fun to me. You know, I don't think I want to know what really means, even though I think I know what it means. I don't think I want it confirmed, you know, like I want to die never knowing. But I think some people, they're not comfortable with that. You know, they want to know everything. And I
Yeah,
don't, I'm
or
not
that's the
bothered.
joy of like second viewings when you, or you know, if there's a show that you've watched kind of 5 times, and each time you watch it, something new comes from it,
Yeah.
and maybe there is a kind of thing with modern art of this, like the joy of outsiderhood. Of, you know, I like discover modern art as well at school in like rural Northamptonshire,
Yeah.
where seeing, you know, a Damien Hirst piece or seeing something that Banksy's done was so unlike these, like this village that I grew up in, that it
Mm.
felt like, yeah, you know, this is for people who don't feel like they fit in with, you know, whatever their situation is. And I was like very like thought I was very punk rock for being, you know, living in a village but actually liking contemporary art.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, it's funny with Banksy, right? Like, I will slag off Banksy, like, at any opportunity. I'm a snob, and I like to, I just think Banksy's like the example of like someone who's overrated, you know.
Mm.
But that being said, um, Banksy was one of those ones as well early on for me that I remember seeing. Because the good thing about Banksy is like, it's a lot of people's first introduction to like the idea of like, oh, like, you didn't paint this, but you changed it digitally and made it like your own thing.
Mm.
So it's like that idea of like, it's basically what everyone does now, again, on the internet, you know, with memes and stuff, but it's basically that idea of like found objects. Like, for example, the one I always think about with Banksy that I do like is like the one, it's like I think it's a Monet painting, right? And then it's like, and then there's like a shopping trolley, like
Yeah.
in the water, and that's like it. But I really like that. Like, that's a great example of modern art. Like, you've like completely recontextualized it, like changed its meaning. It says a lot about, you know, this country and like stuff like that. It's great. Um, but then I just think over the years, I just got more into like weirder stuff. But yeah, like, it's like, for example, like my dad is the kind of guy who's like, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying, you know, he's not particularly like, he hasn't got like a modern art brain, I guess.
Mhm.
Like, you know, he's a little bit more literal than I am, I think. But he really likes Banksy. Like, he's got loads of Banksies up in his house. I always think like I find it a little bit like, oh. But that's great, you know. He doesn't even realize it, but he likes modern art.
Yeah, like you say, it's such a brilliant introduction to,
Yeah,
and also like a lot of people think of the art world as, you know, these very cold galleries and museums in which we look
and it
at like
is.
an original Monet and we have to ponder and be very quiet.
Yeah,
Whereas having art outdoors or having video art, like, yeah, and Gillian Waring is recontextualizing, you know, in this case, like the public space, or, you know, dancing on your own. She's taking that out of context and saying this is now art,
yeah.
and yeah, I think a lot of people like modern art who don't realize it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like it's leaked over into everything, you know, like it's like now it's in advertising all the time. People, yeah, it's completely changed. Like and that's a good thing, you know, like that's just the consequences of something being good. But what I like about Gillian Waring stuff though is that like it's the kind of thing that it looks like it's low effort at first glance, but it's actually not. Like, it's actually had loads of time put into it. Like, one of her projects is like, it's just photographs of, you know, members of her family, but the thing about it is it's her, and she's had like these really elaborate prosthetic masks made of her family and of herself at younger ages. Like, one of the most famous pictures of Gillian Waring, like the one that they use on the front of her books and everything, it's a picture of her at 17, but it's her like now, but with a mask on that makes her look younger. It's just really like when you just glance at it, you just be like, oh, that's just a photo.
Mm.
But it's not. There's like so much. Like, she's really one of those artists that benefits from like reading about how the stuff was done. I think like she's putting a lot of effort in, because modern art gets a reputation of being like low effort, right?
Yeah,
Like the toilet, like Duchamp or
my
whatever it's
5-year-old
called.
could do that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what people say. Like, my 5-year-old could do that, but it's not about that. It's about intent, isn't it? It's like, yeah, your 5-year-old could do that, but they didn't. So
Exactly.
they're not good. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Could you let us know where the best place is to follow you and hear what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. It was really fun. You can follow me on Twitter at Jen Ives Comedian. But just wait 12 hours because I'm not posting at the moment. I've got a website called jenives.net. And if you want to, I have like a Patreon as well. So that is patreon.com/peak_trans.
Thanks so much for watching. You can follow Jen in the ways written below. And as per usual, you can follow me at VerityBabsArt on Instagram. It'd be great if you give us a subscribe and a like, etc. And I will see you next time.